In this video, we are going to talk about let and const, but before that we are going to talk about var. If you have used JavaScript in the past, you know that we can use var to declare variables. For example, I can say var first name equal to Felipe, and then I can use that variable. What I'm doing here is that I am using var to indicate that I will declare a variable called first name and its value is Felipe. Then I can say, for example, console log first name, and then I am using that variable here. For example, I can go to terminal, new terminal, and I can say node and the name of the file, let tap enter, and here we have Felipe, which is great. Now there is something that may be surprising for some people, and it is that if I delete var from here, that code will still work. Let's see that. Let me save, and now let's come back here and I will repeat the same command, enter, and as you can see, we still have Felipe here. Again, this may be surprising for people that have worked in the past with other languages, other compiled languages like C# or Java, where these kind of things would not compile. But that is not the case with the use of var in JavaScript, though we can circumvent this by using a strict. If we say use a strict, enter, then if I come back here and try to do the same thing, you are going to see that now we get an exception that first name is not defined. So we can use a strict or strict mode in order to avoid that weird thing with var. But not only that, there is another weird thing that we're going to see. Let me delete this and let me say for var x equal to 1, x less than or equal to 10, x plus plus, and I will just have an empty body here, and then console log x. What will this print? In other languages, this shouldn't even compile, but in JavaScript, this will run just fine. So let me come here, note let and const, enter, and as you can see, the value of x is 11. So the variable is retaining the final value that it obtained in this for loop, and then we can access that variable here from some place that should be out of the scope of the x variable. Because of things like this, let was introduced. With let, we have a more normal behavior for variables. The problem with var is that because of a process called hoisting, var declarations are processed before any code is executed. And with hoisting, then this variable gets created at the enclosing context, which means that this is like having this and this. This is more understandable, and this is actually what's basically going on because of hoisting. So how can we avoid hoisting? Well, by using let. Let me put this back on, and now let me say let, and that's it. With this, we're good to go. If I come back here and I say node, enter, you are going to see that we have an error, which is expected. The error is x is not defined. X is not defined because let does not use hoisting. The scope of a variable declared with let is the same block where it was declared. And how can we use let? Well, actually in the same way that we use var. I can say let name, actually first name equal to Felipe, and I can just use it. I can say console log first name, save, and I'll come back here, note let and const, enter, and we have Felipe here. And I can declare as many variables as I want, like last name, this should be last name, equal to Gavilan. And I can also edit those variables. I can say last name equal to Marrero, and that will be great also. I'm not limited to using strings, I can use numbers, so like let age equal to 999. I can also have dates like birth date equal to new date, and that is also fine. And of course I can define objects like person equal to first name equal to, let's say, Eduardo, last name equal to Williams, and so on. And also I can define a variable that will have a function as its value. So let me say here, let duplicate equal to function value return value times 2. And that is also fine. Now besides let, we can use const. With const, we can define constants. So with a variable, we can have a value that will be variable, which means that it can be changed, like this last name that I have here, which has its first value as Gavilan and then it is edited to Marrero. But if I wanted to have this unchangeable, I can use const. For example, if I say here, instead of this let, I will say const. Now, if I try to run my code one more time, I'll get an exception, which is that assignment to constant variable. This means that we have a constant here, and we're trying to reassign it. This operation here is an assignment operation, which can't be done once the constant is initialized. We initialize the constant here, now we cannot reassign it here. That is an illegal operation, and that is why we're getting this error. So let me comment this out here so that we don't have this error anymore. Now it is really important to understand that what we can't do with const is to reassign the variable, but we can edit its value. For example, let's come down here and let me say something like const person2 equal to first name equal to Scott, last name equal to Brown, and that is fine. And now let me say that I want to change the first name of person2. Let me say person2 dot first name equal to Alex, and that is not an illegal operation. I can, for example, console log person2, I can save, and I can come back here and I can say node let, enter, and as you can see we have first name Alex and last name Brown. Why don't we have an error here? Because we are not reassigning person2. We are not reassigning the variable. What we are doing is that we are changing a property of the object that the variable points to, which is different. What I can't do this, person2 equal to, and yada yada yada. I cannot reassign the variable. Can't do this. And if we try to run the code one more time, we're going to get an exception again. And as you can see, it is pointing to person2 equal, which is this, because we cannot reassign a constant. So there you have it. We have let, which behaves like normal variables from other languages like C# and Java. Let allows us to have variables whose its scope is defined by the block in which it was declared. And also we have constants which, as their name implies, cannot be reassigned once they have been declared.